We got ourselves Team 2 with Sanitized Demonology. I think it's still Demonology. Yep. We got ourselves Mufasa as a Pharaoh. We got ourselves Lexagor as a... looks like a Frost Mage, but it's fire. I would love to see some Frost Mage in the duels. We got ourselves Sif as a Frosty and Rage. I'm going to call it Rage. It's probably Rage, but I like Rage. There's an A and an E in there. Kachika looks like he's going to be first up on Team 1. On his team, we got ourselves Archeorc, we got Purple Haze, we got ourselves, or Pure Haze, we got ourselves Unsolvable, as well as Omega, with Kachika getting hit with a Chain of Ice immediately by Safe. Safe Guire? I'm going to call you Safe. Like a bank safe. I'm gonna call it safe. That's close enough as it gets. A safe going in for some damage. Big obliterates coming out. The baby arm coming in as well. With the disarm for Kachika, denying a lot of the burst for safe. Does he go for the big dragon strike? Looks like either miss it or doesn't run the legendary where he has extra stun on that thing. Reflect available for Kachika in case any frosty damage coming out for safe. As is getting safe, low enough where the condemns come out. Kachika actually trinketing out of a root by the looks of it. Maybe it was a stun, but it looked like a root. That's going to be a big leap out of the safe as he goes for Death Pack, but looks like Pack with Death isn't going to let him get out of this one scot-free as Kachika goes in for massive condemns as a Fury Warrior. It looks like Sanitize is going to be next, at least giving him a bit of an honor duel. At least he's allowed to set up all these gates and all that stuff. And Kachika's kind of having a bit of a waddle. Just waiting now for the Warlock as he does go for the pets himself. At least he was able to be given an opportunity to get himself a setup. Looks like maybe it's going to be a big setup by Sanitize. Mortal onto Kachika. Did not have a Reflect available for that one. It looks like he's just trying to get himself a little bit of a reset behind the pillar. Has all those pets to get Bloodthirst from, so he should be able to recover and keep himself quite healthy back here. The Fury Warrior self heals are quite good. Actually, even getting the pets low enough, we might be able to condemn him. Could go for an execute phase on those pets too. Big condemns coming out for Cat. Tyrant coming in. Does interrupt the Tyrant as Kachika goes in for a little bit more damage while Reckless is up. Sanitize trying to make a fear happen. It's going to be Zerker Rage. War Stomp coming in. Denying Sanitize the pet yet again into a fear right after. Yet again, denying Sanitize the pet at all costs. Fear coming in. Kachika try to see if he might be able to get an interrupt on it. Looks like the interrupt did not connect. There's going to be potentially Tyrant here. It looks like Kachika doesn't really have an answer for this Tyrant this time around. Leaping behind the pillar, trying to get himself a little bit of recovery with hell. There goes the Rage. All that Rage transformed into an Ignore. Pain stun around the corner as the Tyrant is getting some freebie hits. Kachika might as well even go and interrupt on the Tyrant. Trying to go for a few condemns here and there. At least reducing the damage those pets do. That's not a bad idea for Kachika to actually go for a little bit of a self-heal behind the pillar. Does port on top of Sanitize, playing the Venthyr portal that gives him a shield actually, so that's going to be more survivability every time he uses it on a minute cooldown. Fiorentina Cat doesn't look like he has a Zerker Rage, has a trick coming up very, very soon. As Sanitize is not really looking for damage, just looking for a bit of a drain life, a little bit of that recovery. Drain life for Kachika, stunning him as he goes in for a big old leap. And Kachika needs yet another CC. Either Fear, either Stun, either Mortal Coil. Either way, allow Sanitize to at least get some pets up and running. And Kachika finally face to face with the Warlock. Yet another Fear to the face. Does he interrupt the Fleshcraft? Looks like he doesn't go for an interrupt. He's getting those condemn procs from time to time though, which is pretty good for him. Just standing still, holding his ground against the Warlock. Even cleaving the pets a little bit whenever he can. There goes a bit of that Reckless's burst trick inside of that stun into another stun. Does he interrupt that Fear? Zerker Rage, does he have it? He does have it. Might be able to go for big damage. Sanitize actually under a lot of pressure. Big condemns out of Kachika right after. And Mufasa looks like he's going to give him an honorable duel. At least doesn't open on him in stealth. So at least he gives him at least a little bit of that. Thorns available. Kachika trying to doorway of shadows. Does get interrupted on it. Another leap available. Into a Fear, could go for the Doorway of Shadows just to get himself a shield. That gives you quite a massive shield, by the way. On top of Ignore Pain, that's also just shields for shields for shields, dude. That actually gives you so much tankiness. I would play with like Covenant and the Soulbind with the Draven. It's actually quite good. It even gives you like 10% damage reduction when you're 40% health or so. It doesn't help against burst, but I guess consistent damage is quite good. Convoke coming out does land the interrupt. Kachika at least making sure the biggest button for Mufasa is stopped. That is going to be roots back to back. If only he could reflect those roots back to the front, he might be able to keep him in combat. It looks like Mufasa almost able to get himself a full reset, staying away from Kachika, waiting for his opportunity, but looks like the whirlwinds do get him out. And Kachika needs himself a big setup with Recklessness very, very soon, hopefully. Might be able to do it. Reflect available for those thorns. Just try to wait it out for Mufasa going in for Rallying Cry. Just try to avoid the thorns as best as possible. Looks like it's going to be a route for Mufasa. At least throws a weapon to keep the Feral in combat. First aid available for Cat, but the bleeds do break it, and Mufasa should be able to get himself a reset, almost allowing Kachika to go for a big port. I think it's going to be it to our warrior guy, though. And there goes that Shatter. If somebody sits next to that Shatter, it's not good. It is not good. So if you, as a rogue, it's actually recommended. If you know you're going to be dying and you're in a 2v2 or 3v3, and you feel like you're going to die, save a kidney shot. Kidney, die, boom, they die again. Basically take him down with them. It's like a martyrdom. It's interesting. I wonder if it'll actually work in PvP. Going to be Lightning Lasso available for Unsolvable. Big zaps on Mufasa with a Fire Elemental. Did he go for a Meteor on top of Mufasa as well? Should be able to get himself some heals. Mufasa leaping right back in there. Maim onto Unsolvable. Does he have any kind of go? Looks like he's just setting up for some bleeds. But Unsolvable should be able to get himself a little bit of a heal recovery either way. Mufasa popping between cat form, bear form, just trying to take whatever form that is necessary for the combat. Stormkeeper trying to come out for Unstoppable. Does get a bash onto the shaman. He doesn't see that bash long at all. The Maim tried to stop the cast. He doesn't really get to. Unstoppable, I think, never really ended up getting the cast of the Stormkeeper. There goes the Stormkeeper. Might want to wall this damage. Doesn't lose bear form the damage. Trying to go for a clone. Not gonna happen. Unstoppable still holding on to a kick in case necessary. Tricking it from Mufasa out of the lasso. Doesn't want to get wrangled up like kitty cat. And he doesn't sit in bear form for that frenzy region for too long at all though. There he goes. Got himself at least a little bit of frenzy region. Convoke coming out. Does get a knockback, but maybe the big damage coming out for Mufasa. Either way, Unstoppable didn't sit that stun long enough though. And the knockback did help him out. A couple of those Convoke abilities were not bursty abilities versus Unstoppable. So at least he was able to survive it by a hair. Does get the interrupt since he's orc. Doesn't sit stuns long at all though. It's perfect for him. Mufasa setting up for some big bleed, big bite setup sometime soon though. But the Earth Shocks come out. Lightning Lasso. Does Unstoppable have anything to combo off this? Does he have the big lava burst? Looks like he's going for more of a re-heal play himself actually. He's going for more of a reset stat. While available is Mufasa got Blood Berserk available. I was going to call it Bloodthirst for a second. I'm thinking Fury Warrior right now, boys. But he got himself Berserk available. Stun onto Mufasa. Does he have the big setup? One of the zaps came out. Did he have an Earthshock maybe combined with it? It doesn't look like he has the Maelstrom for it just yet. And looks like Mufasa does catch a lot of recovery. Just going power shifting out of it. Bear form recovery. Big regrowths coming out back to back. We're at the 7-minute duel with the Lightning Lasso onto Mufasa. Doesn't say that Lightning Lasso long, but it looks of it. I don't know if Unstoppable will cancel or not. There goes the Earth Elemental with Unstoppable. Get himself that big Elemental wall recovery. That's going to give him quite a lot of defenses. Waiting out until his wall is available. So it should be pretty good for now. Let's get the Flame Shock onto Mufasa as the Cyclone does come out. Just trying to, I guess, CC the pet. Maybe he can go for a resell himself. He might be able to, actually. No, try to. I don't know if he was actually able to. I think he tried. I don't think it actually worked. Unstoppable does go for a big old lasso, but he doesn't really have anything to combo of that. He doesn't have his setup with Primordial Bolt or anything. Did swap on into Fire Elemental with a Meteor into Mufasa either way, though. Try to get himself a Stormkeeper running. Mufasa does have a kick if needed. Try to get himself a big burst available. Mufasa recovering a lot of health while in bear form, though. And the Shaman, I think, needs a Primordial Bolt. He does have lightning in his hands. Catching lightning in the bottle. Does he go for the big zaps here? He does have one bolt. Second bolt available. Lightning Lasso right after. Mufasa does pop a wall right before the lasso happens. Expected. The big burst out of him. Decided to wall it with a little bit of a self-heal rolling too. Wall available for Unstoppable. Mufasa tried to go for a cycle. Does Unstoppable interrupt him? He does have the interrupt. Hasn't used it yet. Hasn't used it yet. And the Pharaoh is kind of low on health, but he is going for a bit of recovery. 8 minutes into this duel, almost 9 minutes, 24% damage. There goes a Primordial Bolt for Unstoppable. Let's go for maybe a big Lava Burst. The Lava Burst did come out. Big procs, and Mufasa is still alive through it all, but the lasso almost securing the kill, but the trinket is going to prevent it. Mufasa still is fighting tooth and nail here. Probably has Barkskin by now. We really don't know what the cooldown of Barkskin. I mean, we know it's 1 minute, but we don't know where it's at for Mufasa because it doesn't really show up in the bars. Because I guess for Feral Druids, it still doesn't count them as having Barkskin, which is interesting. But then again, same thing happens with Thorn sometimes. Big zaps for Unstoppable right now. Trying to get a Lava Burst in that doesn't get the proc as Mufasa dips quite low. Unstoppable is still on the chase. Mufasa doesn't really have a lot left here. Barskin is out for this lasso. Does he survive it? I think it might be over. Primordial Bolt. Does he have the Lava Burst? He just needs one Instacast Lava Burst, and he's good to go. Trying to end it with Frost Shocks. Does he have the Lava Burst? He just needs one. Cyclone coming out from Mufasa, getting knocked back though. Lava Burst comes in, and Mufasa does get tagged. As long as Unstoppable attacking the pod, no Mufasa, he's in a good spot. Hit that thing with a big old Earth Shock. Does Mufasa come back? He does not. Unstoppable made sure that doesn't happen. At the 10-minute mark, we got Lex. We got us Rege on the other team. Who's up next? Is it Rege? It looks like Lex is looking at Rege. I know it's Rage, but I like Rege. And maybe Lex is going to be up next instead. Looks like it is going to be Lex. Unstoppable just fought a Feral Druid. He's sitting pretty. Most of his cooldowns are coming back. Trinket available in 30 seconds. But he's fully healthy, man. Fully healthy and pretty prepared. Lex is going to go for a G-Pie off of this poly. That shield from Maldraxxus is going to absorb a brunt of that damage. But it's still going to be pretty good. Did he G-Pie into a breath? That's kind of nutty. Just continuing CC chains. Big combustion coming out. Going to be a lasso by Unstoppable while available. Trying to get himself a bit of a self-heal rolling here too. Get interrupted on a cast while is still holding on strong. Still has heals for now. Still somehow surviving. Breath by Lex as he goes in for a Hex on the Mage. No Trinket available for Lex. It's playing Relentless. So how much you can really do against that Hex? That is going to be full Hex. As Unstoppable looking to get some damage back on Lex. Need to make sure he's stripping him off of all those absorbs. Lex does go for a alter time though. Didn't really lose a lot of health, but he didn't regen the shields. Going to be tricked at an interrupt by Unstoppable. Goes in for a big meteor into Lex with a lasso. Blinks out of it immediately. Primordial Bolt is up. Does he have the Lava Burst available? If only he had the Lava Burst procs. That is so much juicy damage into that health bar. And Lex will have a hard time recovering unless he goes in for a full Ice Block. Does go for an Invis. The Fire Elite is going to keep him out in the open. Doesn't still have Lava Burst. Getting the Flame Shot back and running with a Polymorph right after. The Fire Elemental is still able to blast a little bit of damage. Burning through his shields pretty easily. And Unstoppable does go for a grounding. There goes the Lava Burst, but I don't think Primordial Bolt had any value added to it. Unstoppable, the more of those Lava Bursts he can get, the better. There's going to be a Ring of Frost. Lightning Lasso stops him, and probably going to be an Ice Block. Lex goes for an Ice Block before the Cauterize comes out. Which is not a bad move for mages. Going for Ice Block before Cauterize, because overlapping Cauterize and Ice Block seems like a little much. Might as well separate them too, because they put you at the same health bar anyway. About half his health by the time he's done healing. Actually more, but the dampen is 44%, so you know. Gonna be all the time available for Lex. I guess in case Unstoppable runs after him. So he has all the time trying to regen food. Does he actually go back to... Wait, so when you alter time and you gain health during alter time, do you go back to low health? You do, right? You go back to the same health pool you were before. So I feel like him sitting down for food with alter time is not a good idea, unless he wants to use the alter time to maybe get behind the shaman. But going for food, you actually will have less health than when you did. Or maybe I guess he could cancel it if he's actually able to get away with it. Ring of Frost coming out. I don't really know if he wants to Ring of Frost. I guess WCC, it is Super DR. G-Pie still going to make it play. Lightning Lasso by Unstoppable does go for a blink. Meteor coming down. Unstoppable is rooted for it. At least he was able to drop down his healing totem. Stun totem around the corner. Walling does damage. Breath Unstoppable. Still under a lot of pressure here. Knocked out on a cast. Might be able to maybe go for some aggressive fire damage. He's looking like he's going to go for big Lava Burst. Does chuck out some of those into the health bar of Lex. Chunking out his health bar quite a bit. Stormkeeper set up right after. Does have all the time. And he knows he's going to all the time. Probably maybe too early. The Shaman still has lightning in his hands. One more lightning bolt. Two more in fact. Breath Unstoppable. Does trick it out of the breath. Lava Burst. Does he land it? I don't know if he needed to trinket it. But he does go for a Lava Burst. Needs to deny any kind of food for Lex, as Lex is going to go for that recovery. Just throw down like a Earthbind Totem. There he goes. There he goes. At least hits him with a slow. This is going to be a lasso. Lex does get out of it. I think normal human racial out of that lasso. Going to be maybe a big setup. Primordial Board setup. Going for the Lava Burst. Polymorph comes out. Didn't have grounding for it. He just needs one more Lava Burst without Primordial, and he'll have a massive, massive setup. Lex trying to catch up on heals. 55% dampener, 14 minutes of this duel. Unstoppable mounting up, trying to make a play here. Fire Elemental joining the fight. Does he go for Meteor? He does, but I think he blinks out of the Meteor. I think he might have gotten actually the range. The belly does get the dot onto Lex, so that isn't out of the dot. Together with Flame Shock, that's going to be huge. So much damage over time. Does go for big zaps. Lex trying to maximize his alter time, trying to get lower in health before he repositions. Big Earth Shock meets him on the other side immediately. We are almost at 15-minute marks, almost 60% dampening here. How is Lex still alive? I feel like he's just trying to prolong his life. Might be able to make a play if he lives until combustion. He might still have a play. Ring of Frost, I think only fire elemental, right? Yeah, I think he tried to Ring of Frost fire ele. Or maybe he's expecting for Unsolvable to run into it. Trying to get himself as much food time as possible. I don't really know. Lex, unless you could somehow come back out of this, I feel like you're just stalling at this point. Radiant Spark, does he have a big setup? Combustion coming in, does he go for the big meteor? Big, huge damage on Unstoppable. Wait, he actually might have it. Cauterize still available. Unstoppable super low. Does proc Cauterize out of Lex though? Massive damage for Lex. Run action back at Unstoppable. Hits him with a breath. Does he have anything to finish in? And it's going to be all the time, but couldn't alter that fate. Reach is going to be up next. The Warrior, sharding Unstoppable. Does he go for Pummel? Hasn't used Pummel yet. Could be a Hex. Does go for the Kirin instead. Perfect opportunity for Reach to get a lot of damage up. That is going to be Earth Elemental seeing the fight second time in a row. Does give a wall for Unstoppable. No. Oh, Reflect available for that. Hex does take it out of it. Storm Ball, I think Unstoppable is over. Reach, I think, is going to be able to land that Execute. Nothing you can do about it. When you drop low against a Warrior, there's just not much you can do. You just done scheme. Very similar to a Windwalker Monk. He does at least throw a weapon at Archeorc. I think Archeorc still is able. Oh no, he does get caught out of Invis because of that. And Reach doesn't really have much here. Trying to go, was that an interrupt? He doesn't get an interrupt. All the time we go for Archeorc. And it looks like Reach is going to wait it out. Does drop down a banner to deny any kind of CCs for the other team. Does go for the full battle stance. Does he have a big setup? War break onto Arhi. Does he get for a leap? Might want to maximize the damage here. Blaze coming out for the breath. Lots of damage. Arhi actually having to go for an Icebox. Shatter comes in right after. Reach might be able to make something here. Chickens out of the Stormbolt. Reach does have himself a parry available with a Reflect for a second. Archeorc has massive combustion. Lots of damage. Reach just doesn't have much left. Doesn't even have a range for a shield. It looks like he does go down, burning up in a massive combustion. Kachiko with some damage here. Unsolvable just coming back, dude. Lots of healing, lots of damage. Unsolvable, are you playing that Urshel legendary as an elemental shaman? I gotta know, you're really tanky. You heal a lot. So I wonder. That is crazy, boys.